but she wasn't completely wrong. All right, I'm going to drop it because we're about to go live.
You don't want to get into little kids? I know I do.
Definitely not. Yeah, definitely not.
All right, we're live. Where's my phone? Hi, guys. In my phone. Wayne ain't here.
Wow, you're disappearing. It's magic.
Wow, that was a neat trick.
Well, Tony, this was your idea. What sparked the idea? Just the 40th anniversary?
Oh, yeah, I mean, this is an iconic album. I mean, this is pretty much like I said on my Facebook post when I made about the album. I mean, it's just it's groundbreaking, and it's the start of something big because, I mean, like them or not, Metallica is the biggest metal band in the world.
They're probably the biggest rock band in the world, Who can compete with them? Even AC/DC can't. Maybe as a touring act, but not as a album selling act anymore, So
yeah, I mean, you've got AC/DC, Iron Maiden, you got some bands that are still really big throughout the world, but Metallica's got to be the kings of it now.
Yeah, but Metallica in Rolling Stone territory at this point. What I mean by that is, if the Stones toured and played India, they'd sell out. Metallica, same thing. I mean, it's crazy to think about it when you think about Kill 'Em All, but I guess we'll get into it when we get started.
Yeah, and if you think about it, this album is triple platinum. I mean, there's no album this heavy that's triple platinum. Not even close.
What about the Black Album?
The Black Album is heavy. Definitely.
What about the Eagles' greatest hits?
You think about when this record came out and how many. It's just like I saw Eddie Trunk's show yesterday, and he was saying that he was, Johnny Z came to his college radio station and got him to play it. He's the first person that ever played it, and he said he thought to himself, this is never going anywhere. It's just good, but it's never going anywhere. And I remember, like, Dee Snider said that Metallica opened for them once, and he said, man, these guys have got a lot of, they got a lot of, gutso or whatever the word is. And he says, but they're never going to go anywhere. I mean, who thought that when Kill 'Em All came out, that Metallica would one day be the biggest metal band in the world?
I did.
I mean, when the first time I heard Metallica, I never would have thought that.
I didn't think that at all when I first heard them. I liked it, but I didn't. Quiet Riot, when this came out, what was the biggest metal album? Quiet Riot.
That was a
Def Leppard.
First record to go number one.
Yeah.
Quiet Riot was the first metal album to go number one.
Iron Maiden were huge already, but they weren't nowhere. They weren't had number one. Judas Priest, but Iron Maiden and Judas Priest were top 20, which is damn good. I'm not damning that. Actually, that's excellent, especially back then. But
autograph, sign in, please.
No. I blame Quiet Riot for that.
That was kind of.
I don't know about you guys. I guess, Ralph, you said that you bought this record when it was new, when it was the new had just come out, correct?
Yes, but I was well aware of Metallica way before this album. My friend Yai, who I'm still friends with, and we've been friends for 50 years now, since 73. We went to kindergarten, first grade and stuff. I got pictures of him 50 years ago. Anyway, me and him discovered metal together. It all started with Kiss and then Cheap Trick. And then we were just looking for like the heaviest shit. We would buy Raven, Manowar, stuff like that. And then he called me one day saying, dude, there's this band called Metallica. It's faster than Motorhead. I was like, what? So I ran to his house. He had Metal Massacre 1, the original press that had Rat on it and stuff. And Metallica spelled wrong.
Right.
And he played me, and the song.
Right here.
There you go. Is that the original press?
That's the original?
Yeah. Nice. METTALLICA.
Nice.
2 T's.
Is Ron Govern the bass player on that?
Yeah, it's the lineup. It's James Hetfield, Dave Mustaine, Ron McGovney, Lars Ulrich, and Lloyd Grant did the guitar solo.
Who was that?
He was Grant. There's a story behind that. Like that, I'm not even sure if Dave was on this recording or whatever. I don't know. I've heard various stories, but Lloyd Grant came in and did the guitar solo on it because it would think that Dave could do the solo on it.
You don't know Lloyd Grant? That's the black dude that was in Metallica.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of that guy. Okay,
Yeah.
that's who
I
that is.
think he was in like a ska band or something like that in LA, and they were just friends with him, and he could play a solo, so they brought him in because I'm not sure. I haven't done the research on about it. It seemed like I've read that it was just James and Lars and basically Lloyd, and of course they put the other guys' names on it because they had joined the band by the time that the album, the Metal Massacre, came out.
What's the song on there? Hit the Lights?
Hit the Lights. And then they re-recorded it again, not the version on Kill 'Em All, and they re-recorded it again with Dave Mustaine and Rob McGovney, and that version is on the second pressing of Metal Massacre, and they spelled it wrong.
So that's what's throwing me off. Okay,
that's the one I got the second pressing, and it was a situation where oh my god, what's his name, the guy from Metal Blade, Brian Slagle. Brian Slagle, Lars said to him, dude, I'm gonna give you a song to put on the compilation, and he didn't have nothing ready, and it was kind of a rush job that they got all these people to do this, and then that's how Metallica really was born. And when Metallica did their anniversary show in San Francisco, they flew in Lloyd Grant.
Lloyd Grant.
Oh, that's really cool.
They also flew in our good friend, rest in peace, Bob Nalbamian. They flew over there too, because Bob was friends with Lars and all these people, during the McGovney years.
Yeah.
So they always would fly him to their anniversary shows and stuff.
But you were saying, Ralph, you said that you had discovered them from that.
And I went to his house. I remember driving my bike to his house, going heavier than Motorhead, or faster. He said faster. And then when he played it, the Metal Massacre version starts how a song ends. That's the first thing that registered with me. I never heard a song that starts how a song ends with the, and then when it went into the fast chugging riff, I was like, dude, this band's godly. And then after that, I got this is all prior to Kill 'Em All. I got the No Life to Leather demo. I actually got that one from a friend. It was really shitty sounding, but still, I was aware of most of the songs on Kill 'Em All. And then I went to a party on the beach, and just some random dude I'm talking metal with, you ever heard Metallica, Kill 'Em All? I said, I know Metallica. What's Kill 'Em All? Oh, they just released an album called Kill 'Em All. I got in my car in cassette. We went down to his car, and I listened to, killer versions of all these songs I'm familiar with. And that's how I discovered Kill 'Em All. I didn't know it was out, but I was aware of No Life to Leather and the Metal Massacre. And I also remember, too, vividly, that there was a full-page black and white picture in a Kerrang back then with the Mustaine lineup, that they were already getting press in Europe and shit,
Yeah, the demo had done well. And over there.
Yeah, all those
Kerrang guys they were all on top of the underground stuff that was coming out. Those different guys, that were always right for Kerrang, and Jerry Ewing and Malcolm Dome and all those guys. They were on top.
Yeah, Mick Wall is another early supporter. Yeah. So, Ian, how did you get into Metallica or Kill 'Em All? When did you discover them, actually?
Well, I came in a little late to Metallica. I was actually at the movie theater, and I was watching Mission Impossible 2. And I heard the song in there, and I was like, whoa, this is the heaviest Godsmack song I ever heard. And then come to find out it was Metallica. I'm kidding.
You
had me going, dude.
That was good.
Yeah. I'm lame, but I ain't that lame. No, I started reading about them first before I ever heard them. In '85, I started buying, Hit Parader and everything. And I'm hearing all this stuff about, they're heavier than anybody. And, keep in mind, I'm into metal now because of Quiet Riot, Def Leppard, Cinderella, Kiss, the Asylum era and stuff like that. And I was on the way to my cousin's funeral, and the guy I rode with, Mike Grafen, his dad had a Cadillac with like 7 antennas on it because he had a cell phone and you needed 7 antennas. And I grew up about 50 minutes south of Chicago, and he could pick up, there was a metal station in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I kept hearing all this stuff about Metallica and how heavy they are. And they're like, oh, we're going to play Metallica. They're like, up next, Fight Fire with Fire. And it starts out, a little mellow intro. I'm like, what's the big fuss? Everybody like, this sounds like fucking classical shit. And then it kicked in, and it scared the living shit out of me. It scared the I didn't even, I'm like, yeah, that ain't for me. And I didn't listen to him again until I bought Master of Puppets.
Wow.
Because there was such a big buzz about that. And I remember I was in junior high, and, there was people in high school, because our junior high and high school was mixed. There was people who were going to the Ozzy show, and Metallica was opening up. And I was like, let me take a chance on him. So I bought Master of Puppets when it first came out. I remember getting all excited. We went to the mall, and I went and bought it on cassette. And I asked my dad, because he still had shopping to do. I'm like, can I have the keys to the car? I want to run out and, I got to hear this. And then I listened to it, and Battery starts out the same way. I'm like, see, what was I scared of? This shit ain't heavy. And then that kicked in. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck is this shit? But then fell in love with it. But the funny thing is, I went back and, fell in love with Master of Puppets, went back, got Ride the Lightning, fell in love with that. It was still much different than all the cock rock I was listening to, but I dug it. But for the longest time, I didn't check out Kill 'Em All, as Ralph makes fun of me all the time. I used to have this thing against, I knew it was originally released on Megaforce, and they weren't a major label. And I always thought, if you're not on a major label, there's something wrong with you. You did something wrong. You're not good enough. So I put it off for years, other than hearing, the certain staples that were on the album, but I didn't buy it till much later. I would say probably even after And Justice for All. So of course, my version is the one that had Am I Evil and Blitzkrieg on it and shit like
extra
that.
tracks, yeah.
But now I love it. It took me a while because it was so raw compared to the other stuff. But I think what really made me go back is when Metallica changed, in the Black Album. I was over that in 2 months. I was like, I ain't feeling this, but I still love the old stuff. And so it was like a new record to me. And even now I have the least burnout factor with it, and it still sounds fresh and amazing. And I listened to it like 3 times today, and I just absolutely love it. And I miss this era of Metallica and the attitude they had back then. And it was metal up your ass, and, fast forward 10 years, you couldn't even call them metal or they'd get offended,
Yeah.
So, Ian, when you started the story talking about your cousin's funeral, I got some horrible news, dude. Your cousin's still dead.
Still?
Just like General Francisco Franco.
It's still dead.
Still dead. Your cousin is still dead.
Nobody will get that joke, but I don't know. You
have to, if you're old like us, I mean, Ian's not even that old. He knows.
Yeah.
Come on. Francisco Franco, who knows? Put it in the chat. By the way, today is the anniversary of Ride the Lightning. So
I didn't know that.
We'll talk a little about Ride the Lightning. It turned 38 today, I think, right?
39.
No, it's 84, wasn't it, Rob?
So it's 39.
Okay, yeah, 39.
Yeah.
But it's 40 years since Kill 'Em All.
Yeah.
That's insane. Insane.
So, Manny, Tony, you guys did you talk about this?
Tony, you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You talking about how I discovered the record?
Yeah. Or Metallica in general.
Yeah, kind of just like Ian, I was seeing the name in magazines, and you kept seeing Metallica was popping up in Hit Parader and Circus Magazine, and whether it would be just a little insert picture and something about them, or be on the lookout for this band, rising stars. And then I started seeing the ads from Megaforce Records, and they were doing, Raven And I was familiar with Raven, but I was like, Raven's touring with Metallica. And but you've seen what was that was the first release on Megaforce 2 was Kill 'Em All. So you started seeing it growing over a year or so, and they were signing these other artists, and you start seeing the ads in Hit Parader and Circus. That was the main magazines that I purchased at the time. But a friend came to school with Ride the Lightning on cassette. I remember he loaned me the cassette, and it was the original Megaforce cassette, which was the white cover with just the picture in the center of the album cover, so I could take it home and dub it. And I did, and I was hooked. I was like, this is great. I'm loving this. I remember when Fight Fire with Fire came on, and I was thinking, wow, I had recently in the year before had discovered a bunch of bands like Venom and Diamond Head and stuff like that, because they were on this compilation that I had called Metal Killers.
Tony, I don't mean to cut you off. Continue the story, but I would like to know, what is the year all this is happening to you? What
So
year?
this would have been 1984.
Okay, all right, go on.
So or probably late 84, because I guess Ride the Lightning had been out for a little while.
You were very young.
I would have been 15.
Okay.
And so I had heard these other bands on this compilation, like I was saying, these European bands and stuff. I'd actually heard Am I Evil by Diamond Head before I ever even heard Metallica's version.
Oh, wow. See, that I can't.
This was on a compilation record you might be familiar with called Metal Killers Collection, and it was like a Castle, Castle music. But anyhow, so I was like, wow, these guys sound, this Fight Fire with Fire, it sounds like this is faster than Black Metal by Venom or Ace of Spades or something, and it's just like, wow, this is crazy. I didn't even know what to think of it at first. And I also used to listen to the college radio station when I could dial it in, because if we had an antenna at the house, an old TV antenna, and I had a stereo wire to it, antenna wire. And sometimes on Friday nights, they do Chainsaw Rock every Friday nights. And sometimes I could pick it up pretty clear. Sometimes it was cutting in and out. And I'd put a tape in, record some stuff, when they play. They playing Judas Priest and Ozzy and stuff like that. But right after that, I remember tuning in and starting to hear them playing Metallica. They were playing, stuff from Ride the Lightning. And then they would play some stuff from Kill 'Em All as well. So, but I was hooked on Metallica with this. I was just all about them. And so I went out and got Kill 'Em All after that. And Ride the Lightning will always be my favorite Metallica record, but Kill 'Em All is probably a close second. I even like it more than Master. I love the songs. I mean, I love the recording, I love speed metal to start with, and I love the way it's recorded. I love all the heavy reverb on the vocal. It just sounds so cool. So that was my start with Metallica. Of course, when Master Puppets came out, went out and got that, and it was like, whoa. I mean, like they've even improved or whatever, songwriting and production skills and everything. It was a really great album as well. And I did see them open for Ozzy on the Ultimate Sin tour, Master Puppets tour. It was the last date of the tour in the US, which was, I think it was August 3rd, 1986 in Hampton, Virginia. And that was
you saw Cliff Burton's last show in America.
Yeah. And that was James's birthday, and he had his arm in a cast, and they were pranking him on stage and everything. Was pretty crazy. And of course, that show, the audio is in the Master Puppets box set, which when that went on sale a few years back, I didn't realize that was in there. I just wasn't paying attention. I would have bought it. And now it's like outrageous price, to find it. I do have somebody did make me a CDR of that show though, to listen to. It's pretty cool to think that you were there when it all happened, I went to see, speaking of that, I went to see Last in Line a couple years ago and was talking to Phil Susan after the show. And I was telling him about, I saw Ozzy when he was in Ozzy and Metallica opened, and I saw the last show. And he said that they actually scheduled some more shows after that, and they asked Metallica to stay on the tour. and they said they couldn't. They already had a European tour booked. And he said he's just always wondered that if they had stayed on tour and done those dates.
Damn.
Yeah,
because I got boned, but still it was pleasant because when Ultimate Sin came here, it was Rage for Order Queensryche opening, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong, my favorite Queensryche album, but I never got to see Cliff Burton.
See, Ralph, when I saw him, Ozzy on the Ultimate Sin tour was Metallica over here. I think it was at Bayfront Center. I'd have to look it up, but
mine was Queensryche, man. We got both.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, our show was originally in April, and we went to the show, and a couple of shows got canceled and rescheduled, and they were at the very end of the tour when they added those dates back. So that's why it was the last date of the tour with Metallica.
Oh, gotcha.
That's weird how that shit can change though, because like my first rock concert ever was Alice Cooper, and it was supposed to be Megadeth opening up on the Peace Sells tour, but my show was the first date of when Tesla took over.
Okay.
Because I remember freaking out like, oh, my dad loved Cooper. I'm like, oh, he's gonna hate Megadeth. He ain't gonna like this shit. And then when we were waiting to get in, I could see the T-shirts and stuff. I'm like, Tesla? Oh, he might be able to handle Tesla.
It's funny. You're right.
But that's guy by one date, you get to see Cliff, and he gets to see Jeff Tate. You poor bastard.
I know, because Ralph, we're both in Florida, and
you got to see.
I'm assuming you lived here in '86 in Florida,
I've lived here since '73.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to see Jeff Tate with the crazy pompadour hair and all that.
Yeah, and Scott Rockenfield before he became Paulie in The Sopranos.
Well, man, to back up Tony though, man, kids today don't know fucking shit. These fucking millennial fuckers with their YouTube can look up anything, hear any song. What Tony was saying about hooking up his stereo, it's after I heard Metallica on that station, I put tinfoil all around my fucking room and hooked it to the antenna on my boombox, trying to pick up that station from Wisconsin. And every once in a while, if the wind blew right, I could hear a little bit. But yeah, that's the kind of shit we had to do back then.
The kids today don't know the struggle. They
don't know shit.
There used to be a show called Metal Shop. We didn't get it in Tampa, but one of these little counties would get it, and every once in a while it would come in, and I'd be sitting there struggling with the antenna to make sure I could listen to it. Then it'd go away to a Spanish station or something.
Now these kids can do whatever, and they listen to Greta Van Fleet.
I think that's the reason we hold it so close to our hearts, because we discovered things the way that we did is very grassroots, and we appreciated things because we had to go out and search for it, and then we remember where we heard it. We have a story because we remember where we heard things the first time. It's not like we just go, I remember the first time I heard Metallica, man, I was surfing the web one day and it just popped up. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like Ralph mentioned he got Kill 'Em All on as a release. I discovered Metallica much like Tony and Ian did. I would read magazines, Hit Parader, Circus, and there was one called Faces.
Faces,
yeah. Another one, Cream Metal. Faces had this article on Metallica, and I still remember the picture. I wish I'd held on to this shit, but life goes on. But anyway, there was this picture of Metallica, and I was 13 or 14. I hadn't heard a single note, and it was a picture of James Hetfield with a white flying V, and he had carved the word "fuck" in it. As a 14-year-old, that alone impressed me. It didn't matter. Yeah. Sure. But I'd already discovered Raven, Motorhead, and Venom because of these magazines. I'd read about them. You couldn't hear it. You had to buy it, and you'd take a chance. Like we all did back then.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember seeing the advertisement for Kill 'Em All, for Ride the Lightning. But it wasn't until Master of Puppets that I actually bought any of their stuff. I had a friend named John, and he was starting to play guitar, and we had this amateur band we called Sonic Fury, terrible name. And he bought Master of Puppets. And even though I heard prog music, the time changes. I remember being impressed, not so much with the heaviness, but the time changes. So immediately me and John decided every song we're going to write is going to have a time change, even though we couldn't write, we couldn't write a melody to save our lives, but that have made a huge impact on us. But I went back like you and Ian and went back and bought the albums. Kill 'Em All was the last one I bought, simply because I couldn't find it. I just couldn't find it, anywhere. But yeah.
And another thing back then too, I think you guys can identify with this. I mean,
yeah,
when I went to school, if you wore metal t-shirts, you were like a dirtbag. But if you wore a Metallica t-shirt, you were like a super dirtbag. I mean, because it wasn't like, a pretty shirt like, Kiss or Cinderella or something like that. I remember getting the, metal up your ass shirt, and that was like, holy shit, you wore that
funny?
shit.
You know what's funny, Ian? If you wear a Metallica shirt today, you're still a dirtbag.
No, you're a Kardashian.
Yeah. A
dirtbag. I remember being in high school, and it was only a handful of us that even knew who Metallica were. I remember, I think the first Metallica shirt that I bought was probably a Ride the Lightning t-shirt I ordered out of the back of the circus. And my friend Tommy Stallings, he was into Metallica. He got a Metallica shirt, and we'd go to school and people would look at our shirts and they'd go, "Who is METALLICA?"
Yeah. But yeah, I had the Ride the Lightning with the glow in the dark on the back.
Yeah.
And I had the Damage Inc. shirt, those were like the big ones back.
Yeah.
When I was in junior high and shit. But yeah, you were like
Master, and I had the Ozzy Ultimate Sin bootleg parking lot shirt. It had Ultimate Sin on the front, and the back had a picture of Metallica standing in front of the crosses. And I kept that for years. I ended up selling it on eBay 20 years ago or something.
Something real quick, kind of related, but it's just funny how it was back then. Kids today might not, understand shit like this. My freshman year of high school, I had a Megadeth shirt. I had the Mary Jane T-shirt, and I was in home ec. I took home ec because it's like an easy class. You figure, that's a way to get an A because I'm not going to do any fucking homework. So you had to do a demonstration on making something like food shit. And I had a partner, and I wasn't studying anything. I wasn't doing any of that shit. So I came up with the bright idea. We're going to do a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's going to be our demonstration. How can we fuck that up? We got to get a good grade. And I got a D on it. And I went to the teacher. I'm like, how can you give me a D? What did I do wrong on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? She goes, your shirt. She goes, Mary Jane. That's a drug shirt. That's a marijuana. And I was so naive when it came to drugs. I had no idea Mary Jane was a slang for weed. I mean, I knew what weed was, but I was so stupid. I didn't know Mary Jane. I mean, that's how it was back then. If you wore metal shirts where I went to fucking school, I mean, that was a big deal.
Did you get paddled, or was that gone by then?
I got paddled in grade school.
Yeah.
By the time I got to junior high, they couldn't do it anymore. Yeah.
You get in school suspension then.
I
had a bunch of in schools.
I got paddled all the way up to 12th grade.
Wow.
It was not fun.
Dude,
but I never learned my lesson. I kept getting paddled.
I had an in school. I had so many in schools, and our in school was basically it was like a janitor's closet. Like an overgrown janitor's closet with desks in it, and they bring you your homework and shit. And it was up like a half floor from the ground. I jumped out the fucking window and went home for lunch and shit, watched TV and came back in and didn't get caught.
Hey man, did you see Wayne just sent a message that he's not going to make it today?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I just saw that. So, it's funny you mentioned metal shirts. AC/DC might not be considered heavy metal today, but they certainly were when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And even wearing an AC/DC shirt,
Antichrist Devil Child.
Oh yeah, an AC/DC shirt was enough to would give you shit, or even Led Zeppelin. And I love Led Zeppelin, but Led Zeppelin's what now an institution, but back then they were, people were spinning records backwards. When you think about that, isn't that fucking insane that people would actually spin records backwards? Or is that just me that thinks that's insanity?
I think a lot of this is why we still love this music so much and we hold on to it so much. Because I mean, not only did you fight to find it out, I mean, I remember like constantly going to the grocery store hoping the new issue of Hit Parader was out, or so you could find stuff
Same
out.
Here.
You took shit from people at schools. I mean, you did all this stuff to listen to the music you love. You wore the shirts, you got, judged by it. But we love this music so much, and now it's like, it's chic to wear a fucking metal shirt, especially if you don't even know who the band is, But we put up with shit because we love this music so fucking much.
Whatever.
If you play an Eagles album backwards, it sounds better.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another thing about Metallica, Kill 'Em All, and Ride the Lightning is it opened up my world to that. What you said earlier, Ian, about you're not on a major label, you can't be any good. It opened my world up to go, hey, there's these independent labels like Megaforce and Metal Blade, and they're putting out all this stuff. Maybe I need to look into some of this stuff instead of going and buying the new Poison record or something, Right. I mean, like I said, I was talking about those cassettes that got me into like Venom and stuff like that. That was here. It's Metal Killers. I just pulled them
you
out.
Still got them.
Still got
them.
Have them on vinyl as well. Found it on vinyl. But I remember another one that came out in '85 that Hit Parader put out was called The Wild Bunch.
Wow.
I can't believe you still have that.
And
wow.
This has Raven and Q5 and Law's Rocket, and I mean Anthrax is on here, Jag Panzer. I mean, this is the first time I heard any of this like non-mainstream bands that weren't featured normally in Hit Parader and Circus. I didn't really get into Kerrang. I started getting Kerrangs. I think I was buying used copies of Kerrangs, but that was in like probably '89 or something. I was finding them.
To me, it was like '89, and they were like old '83 issues.
I was going back and picking up these old magazines to get pictures of Venom and stuff like that.
Same here.
Tony, let me ask you, my all-time favorite compilation growing up, and I have it on vinyl, called Metal Hammer. Do you have that one, Metal Hammer?
I don't.
That one had Metal Thrash and Mad, Motor Breath. It had a killer band called Thunderfire. You ever heard of Thunderfire?
I had the Thunderfire album once. Yeah,
that was a good shit. Danger. Was
the guy in the front looks like Messiah Marcolin kind of something. Yeah.
The front with the chain. That's classic stuff. But yeah, Metal Hammer to me. I have a bunch of. I don't have those that you held up, but I have a bunch. I have pretty much all the Metal Massacres, and I have a bunch of compilations, strange compilations. That real weird one that was metal. What is it? Metal.
Is it Metal for Mothers?
No, it was. How about Metal for Breakfast? I got that one.
Yeah, I got Metal for Breakfast.
That. I didn't.
And Metal for Lunch.
I don't have Metal for Lunch. You have that one?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't find that one.
You guys are lucky. The only compilation I have with Metallica has Until It's Sleep, and it's now that's what I call music 12.
I was gonna say it was one of those
and I only bought it because of the Gin Blossom songs on there. I didn't want to buy the whole fucking album. But Metallica's on now. That's what I call music. That's by the 90s. That's what happened.
How about like we had like Hell on Earth? There was Hell Comes to Your House.
I actually had some K-Tells. I had some K-Tells that were Metal Masters.
Metal Masters that had Bon Jovi on it.
Yeah, I had Rainbow Stone Cold.
I have that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tony, I got that on vinyl. I got that.
Yeah.
That
I do as well.
And
we could do a whole
Those are
episode
fun
on
to
crazy
listen to
compilation
now, though,
albums.
but those are fun to listen to now, though.
But but I started going out after that, and I started getting stuff from Anthrax and Megadeth, of course. You found out about Megadeth through Metallica as well. So I mean, it definitely broadened my listening spectrum by getting into Metallica and realizing that there was a lot of underground and non-mainstream metal out there to check out.
Yeah, I remember reading in Circus of all things. I guess Ray, I don't think this hit Florida, or maybe not where I live. If it did, I wouldn't have paid attention anyway. I was a kid, but they did a concert review of Raven, Metallica, and Wasp show they did at New York at some famous what was it called, Lamar's or something like that.
Yeah, Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I remember reading the review, and the reviewer hated Metallica, the reviewer hated Raven, and he barely liked Wasp. So I didn't even know why this guy was at this show.
How was he there? You know.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is nowadays there was a review of 72 seasons in AARP. So you know we're getting old.
I'm 53. I am old. I'm okay with that. I'm still alive, so it's better than the alternative, I guess.
So you know, Johnny Z, you know, he went out on a limb and put this band out there and put this album out, you know, and they wanted to call it "Metal Up Your Ass." This is supposed to be the original cover for the album. This is an unofficial version of an album of. It's pretty much the No Life Till Leather demos.
Oh, the
but
demos.
that was supposed to be the original album cover. And you know, we've all seen the Cliff 'Em All movie VHS where James talks about that from the stage, but I guess, you know, maybe Johnny Z just thought, yeah, that's we're not gonna get that in stores. We probably won't be able to get that in Kmart, you know, and maybe
funny thing, they almost used that same picture for the cover of Lulu.
They should have just put the toilet. You know? Yeah, my copy of Kill 'Em All, I actually got, this is original. I got it from a friend of mine who used to buy most of his records at Johnny Z's store. He said he would go in and Johnny'd say, "Here, you got to check this out." And I never asked him. He was over here the other day. I just noticed that the corner of this record is chopped. So I'm wondering if this was like one of the promos that Johnny got. He sold it to him, you know, trying to get his money back out of as much as he could.
You know, the back of that album, on later releases, it doesn't have "Bang Thy Head That Doesn't Bang" or something like that.
Yeah, that says at the top, "Bang, bang, bang the head that doesn't bang." Yeah,
that's the original press. There's later pressings without that.
Do I remember correctly that Ride the Lightning originally was on Megaforce Records? I remember
the first
that?
pressing was on Megaforce. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have the Megaforce version. I had the Electra reissue.
Well, they put this out.
I have that.
So this was August of '83. This came out, the Whiplash, which was a remix of Whiplash, and it had Seek and Destroy and Phantom Lord live. But I've heard it was just put, you know, it was just pretty much some live audio.
Yeah, it's not really live.
It came out on Music for Nations like this without Whiplash, and it still had It was Jumping the Fire, Seek and Destroy and Phantom Lord.
You know, that's what kills me. I used to see all that stuff like dirt cheap all the time, you know, especially during the CD age when nobody would buy. Now I see it and people want top dollar for it.
Metallica records in general, original pressings, they're just through the roof now for original, even Electra pressings of,
but those things sold millions of records, Tony. It wasn't like Raven, who I love, but Raven didn't sell that many records.
But you find more Raven records out there for sale than you do original Metallica records. As many as they've sold, either people kept them, they still got them somewhere stuck up in the attic and they forgot about them, or either they were just worn out, you know. I mean,
me and Wayne talk about this all the time. I mean, like Beatles albums, those things sold millions and people want top dollar. And then even the condition's not even all that great. It's crazy to me. This is not like an obscure band, you know. So
yeah, it's crazy, but that's just the way it is. I mean, they've got, you know, Metallica sells so much vinyl now that they bought their own record pressing plant up in, I think, Alexandria, Virginia, maybe.
Yep.
And they took over that plant because they got all these records out in Walmart and everything, and they put all these live albums out of all the shows now, like almost like the Instant Live thing from a few years ago.
Yeah.
You can get a copy of the Metallica show on vinyl, or get a download of it, or whatever. If you just want to download this, I mean, they're on top of it. I mean, they're brilliant when it comes to that. I mean, it's like more power to them, you know. And I think that's one of the reasons they are one of the biggest bands, or are the biggest metal band. I mean, some of the stuff they did in the '90s, the image change and stuff. I mean, I don't think they really had to do that. Musically, they could have just kept doing what they did. I mean, it kind of morphed into a more mainstream hard rock thing,
Yeah.
but they kept doing it. They kept touring, and they're still here, and now they're doing stadiums. So, I mean, they did something right. They made a lot of new fans, and it's like you meet people that, oh, Metallica's my favorite band, and they don't look like they would be a metal fan or anything, but
Right.
they probably like Five Finger Death Punch as well, but hey.
So I got a question for all three of you. Tony kind of alluded to this because I already was into Raven and Venom. So I think in a way it kind of prepared me for Master and Ride the Lightning. What about you, Ian, Tony, and Ralph? Were you guys already into the heavier side of music? At least one or two bands, any of you guys?
No, not at all. And even Metallica, while I liked it, I didn't get full blown into thrash until Anthrax, because my biggest problem with thrash at first, being a kid that was into cock rock and new to metal in general, was the drumming was so chaotic and the vocals. And Anthrax, Joey Belladonna could sing whatever, and that really kind of was my gateway into thrash. Even though I had Metallica, but through Anthrax I really got into it, and then just my horizons expanded. I remember the first time. Remember one time I was really into, like, I was a teenager, whatever's like Satan or devil I wanted to get into, and I went and bought Rain and Blood and Abigail because that was like the evilest shit out there. And I couldn't stand either. I'm just like, no, this isn't music, and now Slayer's my favorite out of the big four, but back then, but yeah, Anthrax was really my gateway. But, it's funny looking back on the big four, I would say Anthrax and, Metallica are definitely the lightest of the two, but back then, even that was like super heavy for me, and I had to adjust to it. It didn't come naturally. It was like repeat listens, and even when I give up on some, like I gave up on King Diamond and fucking Slayer, I'm like, nah. But it was, so many people talked about it, so many people loved it. I was like, what am I missing? So I just kept listening to it and listening to it, and then it clicked, and then just in general taste evolved. And I think a lot of it had to do with the 90s. The 90s got so shitty, especially for metal. You just go back, and find older bands or give other bands a second chance.
Yeah, I did that a lot.
And that's really, my love for thrash really jumped up during the grunge era, because I just kind of checked out. I'm like, let me go back, and it was fucking heavy, and you're getting older and taste evolve and stuff. And then I really just thrash made all the sense in the world. And, but yeah, as a junior high student, yeah, it took a while to get into thrash.
Yeah, I was prone to it. I mean, I grew up with, Exciter from Judas Priest, Dark Avenger from Manowar, all these like really fast songs that I love, Fast as a Shark from Accept, Motorhead, all this stuff. I was really prone to it, but I still loved, and I still think the traditional metal was my favorite, like British Steel, the First Maiden, and, all the way. But, I have that theory about 1984. 84 is the peak of traditional metal for me. After that, it became diluted. So after 84, thank God, I already was into Kill 'Em All, and I was into Show No Mercy. I was into Venom. I was into all this heavy stuff that when Judas Priest did Turbo and Iron Maiden Somewhere in Time, Ozzy Ultimate Sin, it all got so fluffy for me that all this heavier stuff like Merciful Fate and Venom and Raven, all this stuff that was bubbling on the underground that I used to get at this, that became my music. Yes, my music wasn't the popular music, but I was right there at the dawn of thrash, because Kill 'Em All is the dawn of thrash. You had proto thrash before, but that to me is the very first thrash album. From beginning to end, it's thrash. And then, you know, Show No Mercy was no different. It was more, Show No Mercy to me was a little more speed metal than thrash, but still in the same genre. So yeah, I mean, Metallica, Slayer, you know, and I love this the German metal that was coming out with Sodom and Destruction and Creator and Tankard. I loved all that shit through the later 80s.
Tankard.
I got into all that as well. While everybody got into Poison and Bon Jovi, you know, I got into the heavier, you know, because that's what that turned into. You know, I totally blame the 80s downfall for traditional metal on Theater of Pain, because they brought all the glitz and glamour, and then every other band, even
everybody copied them for sure.
Yeah,
that's for sure. That's for sure.
Putting colors in their leather, you
pastels.
Know? It's just to me.
You know,
look like a hot chick dressed like an Easter egg.
Ralph, you asked me earlier, you said, what year was it when I was telling my little history back? You know, actually, it wasn't 84, it was 85, because I got my driver's license in 85. And it wasn't long. I know I was driving by the time that I got Ride the Lightning the first time, because one of the things that popped in my head a while ago that I remember was I had my first car accident listening For Whom the Bell Tolls was playing.
Wow.
Because I was like, wow, I had just got into it, and I had got into that. I was talking about the Metal Killers collection and all, and I don't think that came out till 85. So yeah, it was 1985. Yeah, I had a car accident one night on a wet road, like rear-ended someone, and I remember For Whom the Bell Tolls was playing when that happened. I had friends in the car, nothing major, just a little fender.
It was metal up their ass.
Yeah, it was metal up their ass for sure.
Well, we had these where I lived at the time. I didn't live in Tampa. We had just moved from the Bronx to Largo. Talk about a cultural shock in the 80s, you know. So I go from an asphalt jungle to what the hell? It's hot as hell. And what's this green? That's what grass looks like. The only grass I saw was pot growing up. So anyway, we had these stores, Peaches, that no longer exist, Record Bar. And these stores are in malls, but they had a metal section even in 83. And that's where I would buy like Raven and Venom. Actually, I didn't buy Merciful Fate till after Metallica because I couldn't find that stuff. It's just, I couldn't find it. Matter of fact, I think by the time I got the first Merciful Fate album, King Diamond already had released Fatal Portrait, which was what, 87? 86? Yeah. So, but these stores would have this, and I would just pick up anything. It's like Ian said, rock radio barely played AC/DC now. Now they play, you can't swing a dead cat without hearing a damn AC/DC song. But even AC/DC was considered too heavy. Aerosmith every once in a while. It's just so weird, like you said, Ian, how things just turn around now. You know?
I called a local radio station, and God knows why I would request this now, but I was a fucking kid. I called and requested Ragdoll by Aerosmith.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, and the station said we don't play metal.
Oh, me and some friends called a local station and asked them to play some Dokken, and they said that's headbanging music. We don't play that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll play some Tom Petty then.
And then I remember when I got into metal, there was a metal show on a college radio station, and I called and requested Love Bites by Judas Priest, and they just laughed at me. And they're supposed to be playing metal, or like Love Bites. That's about the stupidest, song I ever heard of. No, we're not playing that. And fast forward 4 months later, they were playing Love Bites by Def Leppard nonstop on the metal show. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'm like, the same people told me Love Bites is stupid. Now you're playing fucking nine-armed Def Leppard.
I want to say a big thank you to the 72 people watching now. They've been leaving many comments. Hope you're all talking with each other. We got Jackson Routing. We got Mean Metal Mike, Metal Matt, Mark Daly, and just an array of people in there. Thank you all for watching.
Absolutely.
All right. So
Mark Daly, he's probably scared shitless right now. All this
Yeah,
metal.
no, Metallica, that album sold a lot. So if it
Oh.
didn't sell anything, he wouldn't even know who they were. You know. But all right, so we're gonna discuss our top 3 songs off this album.
Oh, wow.
And Manny, why don't you go first?
Okay, well, my top 3 would be Metal Militia because I love that song, and Mechanics, which, by the way, I did not realize. What's crazy is I bought the year it came out, I bought Megadeth's Killing Is My Business, Business Is All, and for whatever reason, for years, I didn't realize that the same song was on both albums with a different title. So I had no idea.
Little
And
different. Yeah.
I hate to say it because it's so overplayed, but I still love Seek and Destroy, probably because it's probably the poppiest thing that's on that thing, but I love that damn thing. Actually, I like every song on there. I like the Cliff Burton bass solo on there. I'd never heard a bass solo in my life, and I listened to The Who, and I don't remember them doing a bass solo. I thought that was cool.
Very cool.
I thought there was a lot of unique things about Metallica even as a kid. I may have listened to Yes, but I never heard heavy music with that many time signatures. But those would be my top 3, maybe 4. I don't know. I love the whole damn thing. Can I just say the whole album, Ralph?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way I am.
How about you, Tony? What's your top?
If I got to pick them, I'm going to go Phantom Lord for sure. Love that one. And I got to put Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, and Whiplash as one song because it's just so badass, and you have to listen to them together. And number 3, I'm going to go Four Horsemen.
Right,
Man, see, a great fucking see. All those songs kick ass too.
There's not a bad song on this album. There's not a bad song on Ride the Lightning. I mean, I even like Escape. A lot of people don't like that. I think it's
love it.
I think Escape is good. It doesn't sound that commercial, despite what they say. But anyway,
I like Escape more than Call of Cthulhu. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Ian, what's your top?
Man, this is gonna be hard. Because I'm kind of ashamed because I think my favorites are the more well-knowns. Even though I love every track on this. Actually, my least favorite, though, would be Anesthesia. And I know that's blasphemy to some because it's Cliff Burton and everything. I dig it, but it's my least favorite. And I have heard more impressive bass solos, even though I love Cliff Burton. But top 3. Damn. I got to pick between Jump in the Fire and Hit the Lights. Fuck. I guess I'm gonna have to go with Jump in the Fire, even though I really love Hit the Lights. So Jump in the Fire, like Manny said, I know it's trendy, but Seek and Destroy, that fucking riff. I mean, to me, that's Black Sabbath level perfect riffage. And for 3, this is tough. I gotta go. It's tough and it's not, because I'm gonna go with the far superior version, and that is the Four Horsemen. I've never got into the Mechanics. I mean, as much Mustaine is my favorite thrash guitar player of all time. I love Mustaine, but and maybe it's because Four Horsemen I knew way before Mechanic, but I hear this. I want to hear Four Horsemen. I don't want to hear that
because of the stupid lyrics Mustaine threw in Mechanics.
The lyrics are fucking horrible, even for a Megadeth song.
I love the original lyrics for Jump in the Fire. From the demo, the lyrics from Jump in the Fire.
Yeah.
They were cheesy lyrics.
Yeah.
Almost cock rocky like,
But musically, I gotta give it to Four Horsemen. I just think it works so much better. With their arrangement and adding it. And again, it's weird because of what high esteem I hold, especially early, Dave Mustaine as a guitar player. And, and I think it's very underestimated how important he is to Metallica, and you get tired of hearing him bitch, but then you can kind of see it because he's all over this fucking album. And yeah, he's got 4, songwriting credits, but he's got more of an impact on that album than just the 4 songs he's credited for.
Yeah,
But
I was looking at
small.
songwriting credits here. Yeah, and that's only 4.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, there's no way this album would sound like it does without Dave Mustaine, because you basically have, Hammett copying what he did, And what I like about this is you've got Cliff Burton on the wah pedal, not fucking, not Kirk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just there is the rawness and the metalness of this, and it's kind of like, God, I could only imagine if Mustaine would have stayed in Metallica, what they could have fucking done.
Well, here's a question then for Ralph and Tony. Tony, do you guys have the No Life Till Metal, or even you, Ian? Do you guys have the No Life Till Metal demo? I do not.
No Life Till Leather, yeah.
No Life Till Leather.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, question for all 3 of you, since you have it and I don't have it. I've heard it, but I don't own it. I haven't heard it in a long time. Is there a huge difference between what Hammett plays and Mustaine plays as a demo?
No.
Hammett did a very good job copying.
Hammett copied everything Mustaine did. Everything.
So the solos and everything, just down to
the solos, like all the songs that Mustaine didn't write, like he wrote that song. And Hammett would copy it. Hammett copied all the Kurt. So
and you can hear it when you listen to this album. You hear Mustaine all in his solo styling, and you hear that early Megadeth, crunch and all that shit, And don't get me wrong, I think Megadeth is the worst out of the big 4. Even though Mustaine's my favorite guitar player, I think they have the spottiest catalog. Damn near. Well, I don't know what Metallica's about one with the later shit, but
and remember, Mustaine had writing credits on Ride the Lightning as well.
Yeah, and claims to have written stuff that's on Puppets too, even though he's not credited.
Somebody brought up the other day, I don't know how true this is, on one of these live chats, that Dave Mustaine said that he wrote a lot of the first 3 albums, but he's kept his mouth shut because they paid him off. It was on one of these
That's
live.
probably true.
I don't know.
That's probably true.
Yeah, I mean, I know he blocked. They were going to do an official release of No Life to Leather. They included it on one of the box sets and stuff, but they were going to do like a vinyl release of it, a CD release. But Mustaine wouldn't sign off because he says, I am the sole writer of, 4 Horsemen. You can call it whatever you want, but I wrote all of that. And he did bring that from his previous band. He wrote that when he was with Panic. But it's kind of like, they did write.
I would take
lyrics.
The royalties and take the hit. I mean, that's
but his pride. I mean, that's the bane of his existence. Is
I get that, Ian, but if Dave Mustaine had formed a band and they were playing some toilet somewhere, I would get he actually made it. Not many musicians make it to the level he did. I don't get it. That's me. I don't.
But you got to remember, he's a ginger. They have no soul. There's already something wrong with him. He's got fucking red hair.
Think about poor Ron McGovney, just got left behind.
Oh yeah, but I think what kind of reignited it is I really think that Mustaine thought he was going to go in with them in the Hall of Fame thing, and then that didn't happen.
He should.
And then and it sucks because the Rolling Stone in the Hall of Fame, like they inducted Parliament Funkadelic. I love them, but they inducted 30 fuking people. Because
and Ronnie James Dio didn't go in with Sabbath.
Yeah, and
that doesn't make any sense. Why didn't Ronnie James Dio go with Sabbath? Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sharon Osbourne.
Exactly. Sharon Osbourne. There's always politics, and unfortunately, as much as I love Parliament, seen them so many fucking times, if you excluded somebody, they're gonna cry racism and shit like that. But a metal band, who gives a fuck? They don't even like metal anyway. It's whoever sold shit, that's who they're gonna put in. And Mustaine, you saw an attitude change after that. Because he's free. He never got the #1 album because of fucking Garth Brooks. kept counting down to extinction at number 2.
I think it was the achy breaky heart guy.
Or yeah. I'm sorry, Billy Ray Cyrus. You're right. They're all the fucking same. Fucking
Okay, again though,
cow
Dave
fuckers.
A
Mustaine.
novelty song kept them out of the number 1 spot.
Yeah, but again, Dave
Yeah.
Mustaine, as a version of Megadeth, he can tour the world right now. It's
They
not
don't
like
let-
he.
It don't matter to him though, because in his mind, he created this shit. He is the mastermind. They kicked him out. I mean, his whole life. It's sad. I mean, I know it's a meme and everybody makes fun of him, but I mean, I think it's a sad existence that he lives like that. That will always be the thorn in his side. He should be in Metallica. He should be in the biggest metal band of all time. He helped create it, and it doesn't matter. He'll always be a side note.
It's just to me crazy. It'd be like
Yeah. See, I don't mind riding Ralph's coattails. I'll be a number 2 all fucking day long. I don't give a shit.
well, I ride
take
Ralph's
my
coattails.
boy
I'm
right
number
there.
6.
That's
I'm all
my
right with
boy.
that.
My boy.
That's right. I don't care. I'm along for the ride.
That's right. You stay down there in my coattails.
Yeah,
And
I don't need the
say-
glory. I'll stay at the glory hole. I don't care.
I will say musically, I prefer Mechanics. Lyrically, no. I like Mechanics because it's all thrashy and speed metal. In Four Horsemen, they throw Sweet Home Alabama in the middle of it. It's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I love Four Horsemen, but musically, I enjoy Mechanics, the Metallica version as well, because Metallica did Mechanics with Dave
Have
Mustaine.
never, until you just said that, I've never noticed it. And I'm going to
The Sweet Home Alabama. Yeah.
Never
I didn't
noticed.
notice it till you mentioned it
oh,
either, Ralph.
Now you've ruined it. And every time I hear
Yeah,
it,
thanks, Ralph.
Well, actually, Dave Mustaine said that. Dave Mustaine said that he put in the Sweet Home Alabama thing in the middle, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, I do love it. I just enjoy the fast.
wow.
Yeah. Well, again, I would get the McGovern or whatever his name is if he's bitter. I would be if I'm pumping gas and these guys are millionaires. But Dave Mustaine actually has money. He can call it a day tomorrow and not have, and he could retire. I'm just saying Ian, I know you're right. It's just a mystery to me. That's all I'm saying about it.
He's loaded with cash.
I saw Metallica when they did that stadium tour, one of the stadium tours. It was back, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. And the one where they did the stadium, I think they had like Volbeat out with them and somebody else.
Yeah.
I saw
And
that.
we got pit passes, and we go down to the pit, and I ran into Chris Jericho, and he's like, you know who that is? And he points at this guy. He goes, that guy standing like right in front of you. And I'm like, who? He goes, that's motherfucking Ron McGovney, the original bass player. And Ron McGovney was just there at the show hanging out.
Wow.
And we spoke to him. He was living near North Carolina at that time. Or somewhere in North Carolina. So it was kind of crazy.
Wow. Yeah, a friend of mine, I don't know if he still works with him, but yeah, it was in North Carolina. It was in some factory. I don't know what Ron McGovney was doing there, but he worked with him, so yeah, but I'm sure I don't know, man. Maybe does he? I don't think McGovney's got any writing credits.
No, I don't think.
No, I just looked. By the way, that album was 51 minutes long. That's pretty long for a vinyl album back in 1983.
Yeah. Well, my top 3. At number 3, I'm going to put Seek and Destroy. I love that song, man. Yeah, it's the catchiest song on there, and it's just badass. It was my favorite when it was new, back in 83, 84. That was my favorite track off it. Number 2, I'd go with Whiplash. I just love Whiplash. And yeah, it's kind of like the other popular one on there. And number 1, without a doubt, Motor Breath. That to me is my favorite. It's short, fast, pummeling, killer. Motor Breath from Metallica is my favorite off Killer of them all, but I love them all. I'd have to go after that with No Remorse, Phantom Lord, Metal Militia, Show 'Em the Fire. I mean, Four Horsemen, what have you, hit the lights. I love it all, but those would be my top 3.
Well, so I wanted to ask you guys, Obviously we've all stated how important this album is to us, and the early Metallica. So to all you guys, where is Metallica for you now? And was there a point where you just dropped off? Did you stick with them all along and roll with all the different shit they did? Or did they get to a point where they didn't mean shit to you anymore? I ask you, Tony. Tony, you go first.
I stuck with them. Black Album I mean, I liked the Black Album. I thought it was good. I listened to it a lot when it first came out. It was definitely a change, but it wasn't so much of a change. I was just going to abandon them altogether, I remember the first time I heard Until It Sleeps when Load came out on the radio, and I was just like, wow, this is not good. They premiered this song, that was the first song off Load. And I don't know, it didn't do a lot for me, but I ended up picking up the album anyway. I saw them on that tour. I saw them on the Reload tour when they came around. I picked that album up, and there's songs on both of those albums that I like. I could make one good record with some songs from each, but I rarely ever revisit those records anymore. I don't think I've listened to them in probably 10 years or more. I really loved Garage Incorporated when it came out because the Merciful Fate medley alone sold me on that. I mean, that's one of the coolest things they've done probably since Injustice for All was the Merciful Fate medley. But when Saint Anger came out, a friend of mine bought it. He said, this is horrible, and he gave it to me. He says, here, I don't want it, you can have it. I listened to it a couple of times. I watched the DVD of them performing the songs on the DVD, and I just ended up trading it in when you can trade used CDs and stuff. And I've never purchased anything else out of the catalog, out of the newer stuff. I didn't get Death Magnetic. I didn't get the Hardwired. I still go see them. I'll go see them in concert, because one thing I will say about Metallica, it doesn't matter how big they are, they still play songs from Kill 'Em All in their set. They usually do at least 3 songs from Kill 'Em All in their set today. Master and Ride the Lightning as well. They do old songs. There's some bands, big bands like U2 and stuff, they would never do stuff off their first albums, and stuff. But Metallica, they still play all their old stuff, and I'll give them that. So, I will go see them in concert, if I can.
All right.
Manny?
I gave up on them after Injustice, but I wasn't one of these Metallica haters because it's so trendy to hate on Metallica.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't like. I don't like that. I'd rather make fun of Sammy Hagar because that's not trendy, and it's more legit. But anyway, I stopped, but I did see the Black Album tour 3 times. Once in Miami, once with Guns N' Roses in Orlando, and then toward the end of that tour, they played Fort Myers, and I went to all of them. And
Metal Church.
Fort Myers, they played Motor Breath, which is the first time I saw them do my favorite song off Kill 'Em All. And then when Load came out, I wasn't into it, but I went. It came to the Miami Arena. I went, and it was so bad. It was a bad show, dude. They even did the intro to Fight Fire with Fire, and right when it got heavy, they went into Nothing Else Matters. Ooh. Man, that was uninstalled. Anyway, I'm walking out of the show, and to this day, I still feel bad about this. I really do. There were 2 little kids behind me, and one kid said to the other kid, joking around because they love Metallica, they're like, hey, who's the band we just saw? And I turned around to these little kids. I go, sure the fuck wasn't Metallica. And they just looked like, ooh. So I stopped. I gave up on Metallica. They kept releasing albums I didn't like until the one day, and I'll never forget, I was recording my album, an album in the studio. And I went out to get something to eat, and on my phone was Hardwired, because Metallica threw out this song like nobody knew this shit was coming. And I was like, let's listen to this. And I played Hardwired, and I became an instant fan of it. I was like, oh my God, this shit's great. And then I heard Atlas Rise. I love that. I love Hardwired. I went out and bought it. I love that album. I stand by it. I still play it from time to time. Absolutely love that album. Then I was all excited about 72 Seasons coming out. And I even went to the theater where they premiered, the album. I lost interest. It's got a couple good songs, but nah. So I'm kind of like, I just saw Metallica a few months ago where they only played songs off the first two albums and Blitzkrieg and Am I Evil. If they come down here and I don't see it because it's too expensive, I'm fine. Because they're not going to do what I saw. When
you saw that. That's the show they did with Raven, correct?
Yeah, Raven opened, man. That was awesome. People were really into Raven too. Like the chick next to me was like, "What albums should I get from them?" Like she loved them so much.
That's all for one.
Yeah, so that's how I feel about Metallica. Never was really a hater, but I was more of an ignorer for many years till I heard Hardwired.
Yeah, I didn't hate Hardwired and the Death Magnetic. What I heard from them, I just never bought them. I just there's other stuff I would rather listen to. I'd rather go back and listen to Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning, Master Puppets.
Right on, Manny.
I'm a loyal fan to any band I like. I'll usually stay loyal to you. Even if you disappoint me, I'll probably still buy the next album. I may not go see the next show, but I'll buy the next album. So anytime Metallica puts out a new album, I usually buy it the first week it comes out. I'm still like not exactly a fanboy, but I'm still a huge fan. And I guess even though I don't always acknowledge it, the impact that band made on me as a kid was similar to like a Led Zeppelin or Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Alice Cooper, The Doors made on me. It changed. It was much more than just music, if that makes sense. So I stay loyal to it. I like some albums better than others, but I still loyal. And if they put out another album next week, I'd probably be the first in line to buy it. Whether I like it or not, I'd still buy it. So that's the way I am. I'm that way with everything. Friendships, if you're really a friend of mine, I'll stick with you for life. Unless you're a complete bastard, then you can go fuck yourself. But besides that, I stay loyal. Oh.
Hey, I'm right here.
Yeah.
What about you, Ian?
Yeah. I fell out of love with them. For sure. I mean, I remember, becoming such a rabid fan and thinking about, the shit I took for wearing their shirts and buying the albums on the first day. And I remember the first time I heard Inner Sandman, I thought it was like the greatest thing ever, because it was new Metallica.
Yeah.
But then I remember like how quickly I got tired of the Black Album and it didn't hold up to everything before it. And, I've talked about this on our podcast before. I was at a high school keg party and this preppy girl who normally would not talk to you if you wore a Metallica shirt, we're playing music and she goes, play the romantic Metallica song. And I can't remember, it was like Nothing Else Matters or Unforgiven or some shit like that. I knew it was over. I knew it was over. And then when I heard Until It Sleeps, I remember exactly where I was at, where I was working. And they were going to world premiere it on the radio station in Chicago. And I stuck my headphones into work and I heard it. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? This is fucking Metallica. Fuck the haircuts. The music was much more neutered than the appearance.
Yeah.
I never bought Load. I never bought Reload. I didn't buy the goddamn fucking Symphony fucking album. I didn't buy Garage Inc. I do like the fucking, the Merciful Fate thing, but the Thin Lizzy shit and the Bob Seger fucking cover. When they admit that they don't even like Bob Seger. I'm like, well, why are you covering it, you fucking asshole? Just because it'll get you on the fucking radio. And I saw him on the Black tour. I saw the third date of the Black Album tour in Chicago at the Rosemont Horizon. They only played 3 songs off the Black Album. The rest was all old school. And I was like, yes, I've never seen them since. I don't want to go to them now. I see the set list and they're playing shit like Fuel and fucking all this other shit, this jock rock shit they do now. No, thank you. And for what they charge, no, thank you. I remember when Saint Anger came out. I went to the record store to go buy Diamond Dave, the horrible Diamond Dave album, and they didn't have it at Best Buy. So I was like, fuck it. Let me take a chance on the new Metallica. Fucking horrible. Fucking horrible. And then Death Magnetic came out. I heard that first song. Fuck is that called? Not Until It Sleeps. What the fuck's it called? The Day That Never Comes. What a fucking horrible. Boy, you listen to that song and they'll never fucking come. But I said, fuck it. I said, fuck it. I bought the album. I loved every track on that album except The Day That Never Comes. And I'm like, they're back. They're back. Oh my God, this band is back. And then Hardwired, I like some of it. I know Ralph likes it a lot more than me. I mean, there's shit like Spit Out the Bone. I'm like, fuck yeah. And then there's other shit like, oh God, here we go. This is more load shit. 72 seasons, like 72 minutes I'll never get fucking back.
We reviewed it on our podcast, the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast.
Yeah. Not good. But the thing with Metallica is I think a lot of us metal fans who went through that shit in the 80s, being ostracized for being a Metallica fan, for wearing a Metallica shirt. They were the band that didn't make videos, to the band that, made a video for a Tom Cruise movie. If they didn't have so much, respect in the beginning, I don't think the sellout would have been as hard. I don't think as many people get mad when Kiss puts out fucking Crazy Nights, because Kiss never had integrity. Never. Not once. But Metallica did. They were like the metal people's band, and then they go that way and they change the logo. They don't want to be called metal. Instead of, they got so big, they could have took out any metal band in the world, Oh, we love Merciful Fate. Yeah, but you take out Days of the New as your opening fucking band. You take out Limp Bizkit. You turn your back on everything. And I think that's what hurts us old school fans so much, is like you stood for something and then you just sold the fuck out. But on the flip side of that, if you're a Metallica fan, I mean, what other band is there that's putting out box sets like they did for, those reissues, and all the shit they include? And if you're a fan club member, all the shit you can get, and the live shows, they do so much shit for their fans, except write good songs, so it's kind of like, God damn, I wish other bands did what Metallica did. And it sucks because they have all the power in the world. They can do whatever, and it's going to sell. Well, maybe not Lulu, but, and I'm a Lou Reed fan.
I'm a huge Lou Reed fan, but that's a terrible album.
That's terrible fucking album. But you know what I mean? I think that's what hurts so bad, and why there is this big, backlash on Metallica, because they used to stand for something more than any other band out there. They were the Death to Posers band. And
I was gonna say, Ian.
Yeah.
It was you summed up what I was gonna say. I was gonna come back and say that they were our band. Mm-hmm. They were the people that liked the heavy stuff and the underground stuff. Right. They were our band, and then as all of a sudden they're a mainstream rock act.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Tony, because I got into Slayer, but Slayer didn't become a Metallica, meaning they didn't break through in a cultural way like Metallica did. That's no disrespect to Slayer or Megadeth. The fact of the matter is that I had friends who hated heavy metal who suddenly were into the Black Album or the self-titled album.
Yeah. Well,
where I didn't have friends who suddenly were going to buy, Slayer's Rain and Blood or whatever, So
it went from where the football team would beat you up for wearing a Metallica shirt to they're playing Metallica at halftime during the football game.
Yeah.
It became jock rock.
Yeah.
And there's all these things, I think people, it's like misplaced anger. People are like, oh, if Cliff never would have died, this wouldn't have happened.
They don't know that. They don't know that.
All this other shit. If you think about it, if you're a real fan and you know the history of this band, you know exactly when shit took a turn for the worst. And it was 1988 when they played with fucking Sammy Hagar and Van Hagar. Look at that.
He's been building to this.
It killed fucking Metallica. It killed, because a lot of people, like, I love Injustice for All, but like Ralph's one, were like, Injustice was his first, like, this isn't as good as the other stuff. I'm getting worried. But after they were tainted by touring with Sammy Hagar, look at what it took them 20 years to recover from. Eddie Van Halen died of fucking cancer, played with Sammy Hagar. Sinead O'Connor met Sammy Hagar. Her fucking hair fell out. She used to have a beautiful head of fucking hair. The hair went, she's fucking dead. 9/11, everything. The Kardashians, you can trace it all back to fucking Sammy Hagar. So COVID. COVID. Don't get mad at Lars's drumming. Don't get Cliff. Don't get mad at the fucking Oscar the Grouch drums on St. Anger. It all started when they agreed to open up for Van Hagar. You want to hate their true enemy, Sammy Hagar. That's who killed Metallica.
Well, gentlemen, I've got to go. So you guys have a good one.
All right.
And thank you for having me on, Ralph and guys.
Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Hey, I wanted to tell you a quick story, really fast too. Was we were talking about the load and reload. When I remember the radio station premiered that song, "The Memory Remains."
Yeah, Ralph likes that shit, by the way.
No, that's not true. I love that song.
The first time I heard that song, and the Marianne Faithfull was her name that does the la la la. I thought it was Dave Mustaine making a guest appearance.
On that note, you guys have a good one.
Take care, man.
I was going to show this too. I got my Lars stick from the Black album tour. I saw him 3 times, like you did, and the first time was reserved seating. But I saw they had the 2 drum kits that came up on each side of the stage. Remember? So I saw them a few weeks later, and it was a general admission show, and everybody was standing up against the front of the stage. And I told my buddy, I said, let's go stand over here where there's nobody at, because a drum set's going to come up right in front of us, and Lars is going to be playing. Of course, they opened with Enter Sandman. First song, right at like just probably maybe a minute or 2 into the song, stick flies out of his hand, lands in the barrier, between the stage and the crowd. And I climbed over and got the stick. I lost my front row seat, but I got a stick out of it anyway.
Nice. That's awesome.
Nice.
Something that Ian brought up earlier, the whole mystique, the craziness to think if Cliff didn't die, Metallica would stay on some path that everybody liked. But Cliff was the only member of Metallica that liked stuff other than metal.
He loved REM. That was one of his favorite bands.
REM. He loved Skinner,
ZZ Top. ZZ Top.
ZZ Top. He loved all that stuff. And where the other 3 were just like, if it ain't metal, it's crap. But then they changed their taste as they got older. But it was metal. That's all they were into.
James just said in an interview recently that if Cliff had been alive, he thinks he would have had more of an ally in the band when some of the decisions that he didn't like or he didn't particularly agree with, which he was talking about the 90s when they changed their image and all that. He just felt like he went along with what Kirk and Lars wanted to do and what management was telling them.
Yeah, I don't buy that shit though, because who's writing the songs? Hetfield's name is on every one of those fucking songs, much more than Kirk's.
Yeah, well, he was talking about. I think he was talking about more the stylistic look and stuff of the band.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I think that's some Monday morning quarterback shit, though.
Well, he was drunk for years too, so.
He has a lot of soul searching. honestly, I think there is a lot of validity to what I said about blaming shit on Sammy Hagar, but I really think the downfall was the way one blew up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a big deal because they had never made videos when everybody made videos. And that video blew up, and it was a slower tempo song, you know,
Mhm.
and that's what a lot of people gravitated to who normally wouldn't listen to them.
Mhm.
And then they didn't. I get it. I can understand the burnout of after the Justice for All tour where they're playing these 9-minute songs that are probably 10-11-minute songs when you're playing them live. I get that burnout, but I really think it was a case of we're going to chase the almighty dollar. This worked for us more than a song like Motor Breath, and it's and who's to say that not all of us would have done the same thing in that position.
Oh yeah.
But I think it hurt because they were a band of integrity and a band that they preach that shit, death to posers, death to false metal, metal up your fucking ass. And then it was like jock rock in your fucking fanny pack. It's and that's why it hurts so bad. If it's a band we didn't care about and we didn't hold in such high esteem, there wouldn't be all this Metallica hate. Just nobody would give a shit. But it's old school motherfuckers that were there when they were a thrash band remember the difference. And there's a lot of people that love the Black Album on. They would hate Kill 'Em All, and I'm sure they don't have it, But
yeah, of course, I mean, and it's the same thing with them not taking out these bands we want to see. They'd rather take out like an Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah,
I
I have to really criticize them about that. They should be bringing these young metal bands that play thrash metal. They should have Toxic Holocaust, Municipal Waste, people like that out with them. They don't. It really, honestly, the people that go to the shows, they don't care who opens. They don't have to bring,
But a lot of that shit
sell tickets, or Volbeat or whoever out to sell tickets.
A lot of that shit comes from managers too, though.
Yeah,
a lot of times the bands aren't as involved. And I think a prime example of that is Kiss. Look what Kiss did on the Hot in the Shade tour. Nobody bought that fucking record, but they took out Winger, Faster Pussycat, Slaughter.
Yeah,
bands that were huge at that time. And I can, I saw that tour twice, and I can tell you there was a lot of asses in those seats for Winger and for Slaughter, and for Faster Pussycat, So I think they did the same thing. Like, let's take the safe bet. We're pissing off our old school fans, but look, this Days of the New, they got a song high in the charts. The same with Limp Bizkit.
But now they're the biggest band and the biggest metal band out there in the world. I mean, it doesn't matter. They don't even have to have an opening now.
Right. And now you see them taking out more metal bands now, they're taking out Pantera, but they're still taking out some safe bets too. I can't remember. There's a lot of different bands opening up on this new stadium tour they're doing, but it's a mix. But then again, they're not stupid. Look how people are going crazy about a chance to see Pantera, and now they'll take them out, but my whole thing is like, you're doing a Merciful Fate medley, but why don't you let King Diamond open up?
They're taking Pantera out after Phil totally trashed them in the press.
Oh yeah, no, I remember when I saw him. I talked about this on our podcast before. I saw the Pantera White Zombie tour, and Deftones opened up. And Deftones had a shirt where the Deftones logo was like the Metallica logo with the lightning bolts on the end. And Phil came out. This was like right when Load came out. And somebody threw a Deftones shirt up on stage. And he goes, looks like a Metallica shirt. And he wiped his ass with it and threw it back in the fucking crowd.
When I saw that tour, Phil went into a whole speech going, Metallica let you down, didn't they?
Yeah.
He was talking about the Load album. It was that same tour. And he went into a whole speech about how Metallica sucks now, and I remember that. They let me down, didn't they? And the place cheered, you know?
Yeah, but they did. I mean, they did let us down. It wasn't just us, the fans. I mean, Pantera was Metallica fans. I mean, people who love true fucking metal were let down. People who listen to what's on the fucking radio and like whatever's force fed to them, they didn't give a shit, you know? But true Metallica fans were pissed off, you know?
Yeah, but you know, they gained a whole other generation of.
Oh, no, it business wise, it worked out, but it'd be like, you know, look how you took it when Ozzy put out Ultimate Sin. You know, imagine fucking Black Sabbath did a Look What the Cat Dragged did, but it sold records.
They almost did with Ron Keel. Imagine if they would have got Ron.
Oh God,
that would have been crazy.
That
but you know what I mean?
Ron Keel, but he's not good for fucking.
That would have hit you in the fucking feels, man. That would have fucking pissed you off.
Big time, man.
Yeah, you know, so.
But not as bad, not as mad as when Sammy joined him. I don't think anything will piss me off more than that.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than that. There's nothing worse than that, you know.
Well, anyway, guys, it was awesome. One little quick thing. It is Ride the Lightning's birthday. So let's go through Ride the Lightning really quick. What do y'all think? I mean, Tony, you talked about it earlier. It's your favorite one of the first three, right?
Yeah, I think it was an improvement, songwriting wise, production wise. Just all in all, it's just a great record. I love everything about it, from the album cover to every song about it. It's just a great one.
Yep. Yeah. Ian?
I would agree. It's my favorite of the first three. And it's hard. It's hard to pick against Puppets, which is a perfect album. I mean, there's not one wrong note on Puppets, but there's just something about Ride the Lightning. I don't know what it is. I think it's a perfect mix of what they would become on Puppets, and there's enough of that Dave Mustaine hangover. You know, he's got the co-writing credits and stuff, but there's just something. It's a perfect bridge between Kill 'Em All and Puppets, and it has the rawness, but it has the sophistication, you know, that they would get with Puppets. And I mean the song, you know, Creeping Death, and I mean the title track. And I'm the same way. I love Escape. I don't know what the fuck their problem is with it. I don't hear it as being this cock rock forced fucking you know. I don't get it. I never until I heard the band complain about Escape, I would have had no fucking idea. I'm like, Escape's awesome. You know?
Yeah. It's just it's a little more simplistic song for them. It's almost a precursor to what would be Enter Sandman in a way.
Right, but it's still, you know, Escape has two balls. You know, where Enter Sandman has the scar where you can see where the balls were removed. You know, but yeah, there's just something about it. And you hit it. The album cover, you know, it's. I think back, you know, my first Metallica shirt and everything. And I never get sick of it. Even shit like For Whom the Bell Tolls and stuff like that I've heard a gazillion times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I put it on, and you know, I prefer to listen to it as an album, you know, but like most albums I do.
Same.
But I don't have that burnout factor. It's just, man, to me that's like a Sabbath album or a Priest album. You know, it's just perfect from front to back, and what an amazing time. You know, and so glad that's where I broke my cherry. It was Fight Fire with Fire. You know.
I'll never forget. I mean, I love Ride the Lightning. I'll never forget when I went to California in October of '85 that I met some dudes over there that hated it. And it wasn't just Fade to Black. They hated Fade to Black, but they also hated the intro to Fight Fire with Fire, which is ridiculous to me. It's like, that song rules. You're going to judge it by the intro. But as much as I love, and I'm telling you, I do love the album. Out of the first three, it'd be my least favorite, though. But I still love it. I put Master of Puppets #1, then Kill 'Em All, then Ride the Lightning. But I love them all three pretty much almost equally, really. You know, just because I say I like these two more, I still love Ride the Lightning a lot. And most people would pick, you know, most old school hardcores would say Ride the Lightning is their best. because Master of Puppets is kind of trendy because of what's his name?
Stranger Things.
Yeah, because of that, it's kind of trendy to say that's the best. But I feel it is the best. It has my favorite song, Orion, on it. That's my all-time favorite Metallica song.
I love it. I love it so trendy that this chick was trying to cancel Metallica.
Oh yeah.
After they got big because she was digging up all these photos on Metallica and said they're white power and all this shit. Now, let me ask you guys before we go. God bless you.
Thank you.
Out of the big four, who is your favorite out of the big four? Tony?
Well, I'm going to go Slayer.
Awesome.
I'm going to go Slayer as well.
That's a fucking hat trick, Slayer.
To me, the Metal Blade Year is my favorite, but I think Rain and Blood's historic.
I only really like the first 3 Anthrax records and in the first couple of Megadeth albums, really. So, I mean,
yeah.
When Megadeth with me, man, I've noticed for the past few years, if I ever listen to Megadeth, it's B-Cells.
I love B-Cells. That's great. That's my favorite one. Yeah,
that's the only album I listen to.
I love So Far So Good So What. And it's unfortunate, man, when he went back and did the remaster of it. Oh my God, did he fuck that? I think that was the worst out of.
Oh yeah,
the remake was the changes he made to that one, and I get it. It did have, the production was almost worse than Killing Is My Business, but there's just something about it. Fucking 502 and fucking Liar and
In My Darkest Hours, my favorite song. Anyway.
Oh yeah, incredible. Yeah. Incredible. But I think I would have to put Megadeth, unfortunately, even though I said that Dave's my favorite thrash guitar player, I would have to put Megadeth as the worst out of the big four because they put out so many shitty fucking albums. And I know a lot of people would say,
so did Anthrax.
Yeah, I'm a bigger Anthrax fan than both you guys, and I don't care for the first album. I know Ralph, that's his favorite.
Love it.
And apparently, you like it. But I'm a big fan. I love the John Bush era. I love the Belladonna era. But I think if you put up a whole catalog, I would say Megadeth would be the worst only because they put out more albums than Metallica. Because Metallica, I'm really, it's like Through Injustice, and then maybe a song here or there, but you can't take away that they were they were the Black Sabbath, they were the inventors of this fucking new movement,
I would put Anthrax as at number one if they kept Dave, what was his name? Dan Nelson.
Oh, Dan Nelson. The elusive Dan Nelson era.
Yeah, they didn't record with him, did they?
They did a whole album with him. And then they released his track.
I would like to hear the leak of I'd like to hear the leak of that.
I like some of Sound of White Noise.
Yeah, I do too.
But I prefer John in Armored Saint.
Yeah. I love Armored Saint.
Definitely.
I think Sound of White Noise is a better version of what Metallica did with the Black Album. It was Anthrax expanding their sound, but I think Sound of White Noise was way more successful to my ears at changing your sound, but being true because Sound of White Noise is still fucking heavy as fuck, yet different and expanding, where, the Black Album just didn't work for me.
Yeah, it was an improvement from the last, since spreading the disease for me. But anyway, dudes, it's been awesome. What's your plan this weekend, Ian? Can you do a show or something?
Yeah, Saturday or Sunday work better for you?
Sunday, because I'm going to the Dio tribute on Saturday.
Okay, well, for people watching this, Saturday we are going to do, because I didn't know what my schedule was going to be, we're going to do one more talk to the fans, but I have already planned out the next weekend. So the next weekend we're going to do a regular episode. We're going to do the fan episodes, but this week we'll do another live episode where we'll talk to everybody. So get your questions ready and try to come up with something better than this versus this.
Right on. And how was that Savage Master show you saw last week, Tony?
Oh, they were great. Great show. Great band. Always put on a great show. And the band Traveler that was on tour with
love
Traveler.
that.
Man, they were great. I mean, they were just full of energy, man.
They're one of my favorites of the newer bands now. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, check out Traveler, everybody. And again, thank you all. And we
gotta get Tony on the Rock and Metal Combat podcast.
Of course.
Yeah, I have to get in sometime. That's on Sundays.
No, we do it for here and there.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd love to have you on an episode, brother, man.
This Sunday we're doing a live episode if you want to join us, but we tend to go long.
When is that?
Uh-huh.
When is the next one you said?
Sunday.
Yeah, I'm tied up Sundays.
But we're just talking to the audience. We have no.
That's cool. Yeah, we'll do it sometime. That's cool. We're doing a subject or something. Cool. Always great to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you, Ian, and thank you everybody, and thank you, Manny, for watching. And thanks everybody out there for watching. Y'all have a good night, and we'll be back next Thursday. So
settle up your ass.
That's right. And smack 'em a gob.